Shiv, Jay Hatol, how's it going? Welcome to Hands Up for Trad TV. I'm delighted to be with you all today for another conversation with one of Scotland's finest traditional musicians. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that World Play a Strathspey Day is coming up on the 3rd of May. We're looking for people to simply play a strathspey and post it on their social media using the hashtag World Play a Strathspey Day. It's great fun and there's so many brilliant strathspeys to choose from. And if you're in Edinburgh on that day, the 3rd of May, 2025 that is, there's also a fantastic concert at Edinburgh Tradfest at 3 p.m. featuring Rory Matheson, Katrina Price, Adam Sutherland and Anna Robertson. You can get tickets from www.edinburghtradfest.com and I'll put the link in the description below. Now, today I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome the award-winning musician Rachel Newton to the show. Rachel is a celebrated singer, harpist and composer who draws on poems, ballads and stories that are hundreds of years old, working them into her distinctive contemporary style. Hey Rachel, come how?
Hagema, come how hen?
Oh, I'm here, Varen, there's some Daiskin. Your new album, Sealladh, was recently released. Could you tell us a bit about its concept and inspiration?
Yeah, sure. So Sealladh started life as a commission by the National Galleries of Scotland. The word Sealladh means view or vista. It also means the second sight as well, which I quite like, that double meaning. And yeah, started as a commission. They commissioned me to write some music, kind of partly to celebrate 80 plus years of live music in the galleries, and also because they've got a new space, a beautiful new gallery space down and looking over Princes Street Gardens. They kind of wanted me to write some music based on the works from the Scottish collection that had some kind of connection to Gaelic culture or language. So it was a really great commission. So I picked three artists, and yeah, wrote some music based on like I think 14 different paintings. So yeah, it was really, really good fun.
Oh, amazing. And so in the album, you know, when you listen to it, it's got a really distinctive sound. It seems to blend traditional elements with more experimental approaches. Can you tell us about the musical direction you were exploring with this album and I suppose how it fits into your artistic evolution?
Yeah, well, I kind of wanted it to be quite sort of improvisatory, I guess. I like to do something a bit different, I suppose, with every recording. And I think with this one, I was maybe in a bit of a time where I just, wanted to kind of let that side of what I do. I quite enjoy, the harp's a great instrument for, you know, all the notes are kind of there. It's like the piano. I know if you know what I mean, they're all kind of there physically. You just need to play them, and that lends itself really nicely. You can just get in a key and just play. So yeah, that was a big element of it for me. And I worked with the producer Andy Bell, who I've worked with a lot before. On various different projects. And yeah, it was just the two of us. I guess I kind of used a lot of inspiration from like a lot of the, I suppose, the history and the kind of mythology around these different paintings and the subject matters. And picked there's a couple of traditional songs on there as well, Gaelic songs, and some like poems and sort of bits of text that I've taken and set music to. And then we had kind of, there's a few sort of threaded through the album. There's a few tracks which is sort of more on the electric harp and using quite a lot of effects and stuff like that, and a little bit more kind of abstract. And it's a combination of that, I suppose. And then quite a lot of drones. Got really into like, there's like a whole 20 minutes where we're just like on a C drone, a little bit, maybe hints of the C minor in there. But I think it was, it felt like an album where I just felt like it was okay to be quite, to not kind of have to kind of move around in moods and just stay in a certain mood for a while. And it's quite atmospheric, I suppose, as an album.
I mean, I loved it. I'll be honest. I think it's a great album. And I suppose what I love about watching you is there's always so many things going on, and you work all these interesting things, but you're also really interested in sort of working with family, and you've got lots of close collaborators. And I suppose another project you'll be working on is Anna Van with your cousin Mairearad Green, and that's looking at the family history connected with the Coagoch resistance during the Highland Clearances. Tell us about this and what drew you to this story?
Yeah, well, myself and Mairearad, we've obviously known each other since we were born. And we're cousins, first cousins, our mums are sisters. And we've always we've worked together a lot over the years, and played music together informally as well, and grew up at going to the Fèis and things like that. But we'd never actually done a sort of duo project together. And this story is something that we've always kind of vaguely been aware of, but it's sort of come to light, and I suppose more of a focus on it recently, because there's going to be a sculpture. It's been sort of commissioned to be made in Coagoch to commemorate the people, especially the women. There were a small group of women who were at the forefront of the Coagoch resistance, and it's very unusual in the sort of history of the Highland Clearances that there were these sort of successful resistances to being cleared, and in Coagoch there were sort of over a period of a couple of years, I think it was like 1852, 1853, where the people of Coagoch resisted being cleared, and they kind of sent the folk packing that came to clear them off their land. And like I say, this was led by these young, like really young women, and one of those women was Mairearad and I's great grandmother, Anna Van. We just felt like that whole kind of story and that idea, deserved a bit of recognition, and for us, as musicians, the natural way for us to do that was to write some music inspired by that, and also just inspired by the love that we have for the place. Coagoch is up in the northwest of Scotland, and it's where Mairearad grew up. And I'm from Edinburgh, but I spent like most of my school holidays up there growing up as well. So up in a small place called Achnaheard, which is near Achiltibui, which is the big smoke. It's got like a shop, I don't know. It's a beautiful part of the world, and that kind of makes up there's a few little townships that make up the Coagoch Peninsula, just northwest of Ullapool, still got a lot of family up there. So it's the album's kind of in tribute to Anna Van, and also to our family and the place as well.
It's great to hear a positive Clearances story, because there's not many of them.
No, indeed. I think that and a couple of other incidents, that kind of was in the lead up to the Crofters Act, and things sort of changing a bit. I think, it was also quite unusual for a folk musician to find a kind of positive, a good news story to write music about. I always find the darker side of things so interesting, and it's so much part of life, but it was quite refreshing to have something positive to say.
I mean, it's like that you saw the next question coming, to be honest. Because you've also working with your good friend Lauren MacColl. You have the Heal Harrow project, which explores the Scottish witch trials and basically pays tribute to the women who were persecuted. There's not much darker than this subject.
No, exactly. No. Lauren and I, this was quite a few years ago now. We were on a tour with her project, The Seer. I think it was back in 2019, and we came across the Witch's Stone in Dornoch, which is a tribute to Janet Horn, who was one of the last person to be legally executed as a witch. And yeah, it occurred to us, we got talking about it, and it sort of occurred to us that we really knew very little about that part of Scottish history, you know, and we kind of wanted to know more, I suppose. And the more we kind of delved into it, the more we realised it was a huge, huge thing. You know, thousands of people were killed as witches, you know, and they were just ordinary people. It could have been any of us, and most of them were women. You know, there were men as well, but most of them were women. So yeah, it just felt like something that we wanted to kind of look more into. And because it was, I think because we kind of came up with it during lockdown, we had more time than usual to sort of really, really plan and really dive deep into a project. So we spent a lot of time on Zoom chatting back and forth, and it kind of grew arms and legs, and we were really glad to get some funding to make this project. And we actually commissioned Mary Kidd, who is a brilliant writer and, well, artist of all sorts, but she wrote 10 different stories. Because I suppose like anything on a big scale, it's harder to kind of relate to it unless you really sort of have these personal stories, isn't it? So she wrote 10 different stories based on 10 different women who were involved in the witch trials in some way. Not necessarily, you know, there were people who were killed as witches, but also people who, you know, were involved in kind of the persecution, or like it wasn't sort of just sort of, you know, it was finding different ways. And then we also looked at more the kind of mythological beliefs in the other world, and, you know, and then also like fictional, I think, again, to find a little bit of light. One of the stories is about the Cutty Sark from Tam O'Shanter, which is a really funny take on the sort of, the girls that were just dancing around in that story, having a good time. And so there was a mixture of different things, but I suppose we wanted to really differentiate between the sort of mythological sort of beliefs and the fact that these, you know, in the witch trials, it was just women, like, and men, just people that were just caught up in something really horrific.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned Mary Kendrick. Also, as part of that project, you featured visuals by Alison Piper.
Yeah.
How do you approach bringing that kind of element into your work?
So Alison was fantastic. We asked her to, we gave her pretty free rein and just asked her to make some films, a film for each, a short film for each track. And she really sort of was really creative with it, and was using different materials that were sort of featured in the stories, and you know, and then sort of presenting them in this really interesting way. She used some archive footage as well. But yeah, quite a mixture. They're quite varied, the films that she made. And what we've done with them is we use them as part of the show. So the Heel and Harrow show is quite a new, I suppose that was a really kind of big leap for both of us in terms of our like performance practice, I suppose. Because we have this like screen behind us that shows these films as we go through each track, and we also have like stems from the album, like a sort of backing track going on as well, and like we've got in-ear monitors and you know, clicks and things like that, and it's all a bit of a new world. I mean, I'm terrible at sticking to an arrangement, as Lauren can probably tell you, so for me that was a real challenge to actually play the same thing at the same every night. But no, I absolutely love it. And it's just, really, you kind of, I mean, I wouldn't want to perform like that all the time, but it's great to kind of get into that world, and you just, you know, it's like, right, go. And then the whole show is, you know, there's no talking from us or anything. It just goes. So that was like a real new experience for us.
That's amazing.
It was great fun.
It won't be long before you're adding the DJ and the beats.
Well, who knows? Who knows? Watch the space. But
joining Valtos.
Well, you never know. But we also commissioned. No, sorry, we also employed 10 different women to read the stories that Mary wrote, and we made that into an audiobook. But we also did a podcast, which was really fun, with Mary. So we kind of spoke to Mary about her process. We spoke about our writing process, and featured excerpts of each story of these 10 different women reading the stories. So that was really, really fun, and that was put together with Grant Anderson, who's my partner. So we worked together on that, and he edited all of that together. So that was really fun as well. Yeah, so it really grew arms and legs, this project, and it feels like there's definitely more to come from Heel and Harrow. So yeah, it's been great. Working with Lauren is such a joy as well. We've been doing some gigs, just the two of us, sort of more acoustic gigs recently, just of our kind of some Heel and Harrow stuff, but also some just material from each other's projects, because we played on each other's projects for years. So that's been really good.
Wonderful. And just a quick going back to the Heel and Harrow, was that a funded project?
Yeah, we were really delighted to get funding for that, and there was no way we could have done it without funding, because there was a lot of people involved.
Yeah, was it Creative Scotland that funded that?
Yeah, Creative Scotland funded it. Yeah.
Amazing. So, I mean, moving forward, just looking at your creative process and your artistic approach, because I find it really interesting, because as we've been talking and everyone can hear, you think a lot about historical themes and trad music, but your music is always really contemporary sounding. Your harmonies that you use always seem very contemporary to me. So how do you have any thoughts about how you balance the tradition while creating something innovative and original?
Yeah, I think just being kind of steeped in traditional music from such a young age, it kind of feels like, and also having that interest, in that sort of historical element, it feels like those two things mean that you can kind of be much more experimental and kind of rely on the fact that that thread's always going to run through it, if that makes sense, and I suppose I've always been really into music of all different types. So I try not to think too deeply about it, and let it be quite a natural, sort of process of like, this is the kind of music I want to make in this moment. And there's always going to be that kind of element of the sort of folk and traditional music in there, because it's just running through your veins, sort of thing. Not but yeah, and just to take whatever other influence at the time feels right. And I think I suppose I enjoy the fact that there's a freedom, I suppose, like, there's that freedom to not feel like you have to go one way or the other, or you could, like, I've done albums that have been very, very stripped back and maybe more sort of traditional sounding, and then these much bigger sounds and electronics and stuff like that. But I don't feel, maybe it's partly because I'm not like super well known or anything, so you don't like, you're not, do you know what I mean? Like, it can kind of, if you're a bit more of a niche musician, you can kind of get away easier with the kind of jumping from one thing to the other, and I quite enjoy that freedom.
I'll just jump in and not selling yourself short there. Yeah, you've had a brilliant career, actually, for, as you say, someone who makes niche music, you consistently tour, which is not the easiest thing, as we all know, and actually you do an amazing job. So I'm always really proud of you.
Oh, thanks, Simon.
So I'm just thinking about how you find your material. Do you read a lot? Do you look into things? Are you just naturally interested in lots of different subjects?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a curiosity and an interest there, and I guess learning all these kind of old songs, I think that sort of stemmed an interest in historical, because I suppose I think something that kind of struck me from a relatively young age was that, and it sounds really obvious, but these people in these songs are just like you and I, but they just were alive at a different time. That's the only thing that separates them from us. And I think that kind of gives you or allows you to have a bit more of a connection with the past, and stories of the past, and storytelling, and that's what songs are about, and I think tunes as well. It's all about telling a story, isn't it? So that element, and of history that's all storytelling too. So for me, it just all kind of connects, if that doesn't sound too rambling. All connects together, and feels like a natural fit, I suppose, and relating things to the present day. And I think there's so much there's so many sort of parallels there that we can, society is just the same. It's always been the same at its core, so it's interesting to look at that.
I mean, I suppose one of your interests throughout your whole career is sort of women's experiences, and your album To the Awe was quite focused on that, as well as Anna Bhàn and the witches. That's obviously a very important theme to you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it certainly, it runs through things. It's not always totally conscious decision. It just happens to be what interests me. And I've definitely always been interested in a woman's experience. And I think in history, it's often like the women's voice isn't necessarily heard. So it feels like, and actually where it is heard more is through song, rather than actually in the history books and stuff. So that feels like a nice connection too, to kind of keep that going and telling like women's stories through song and music.
I do find it very interesting. I wrote a piece for Celtic Connections Festival there, and I was basically trying to have as equal a gender split within the writing of the music as possible. And of course, it was not easy trying to find, all these fiddle composers from the 18th century. There's very little of it about. But I think I was working a lot with Margaret Fay Shaw's folk songs and folklore of South Uist. And I think I came to the understanding that all these songs are all written by women. We don't know who they were in the main, but it's a massive tradition, as you say, through song of women actually writing, because it was all improvised, a bit like yourself on C minor. And but you know what I mean? There's so much material out there that I don't think actually gets credited to women, but they were so involved through the songs and all that work, the work songs.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can really see it with these Gaelic work songs, walking songs and spinning songs, and, and lullabies as well. And, there's so many of these sort of functional songs that by their very, the name of what they are, their genre, that that it's going to be women that were singing them. So that, I love that connection.
Yes, yeah. Now, you and I first met a good few years ago, face Dunachin, through your wonderful mother, Jessie.
Yeah, yeah.
We had so many lovely, lovely times. What are your memories of that time, and how would you say your musical journey has moved on from that?
Yeah, well, the Wednesday night band with Simon, that was so much fun. No, I absolutely loved that. And I think, the Fèis, my mum started the Fèis in Edinburgh, Fèis Gréidin, on the back of my really positive experience that I had at Fèis Rosh, up in Ullapool and Gairloch at the time. And she just thought this is a great thing, and let's start one in Edinburgh. And I think both of those Fèis really is, they're the reason that I play music for a living now, for sure. I've got no doubt about it. I think just the kind of, the social element of it, because let's face it, that's that was the best thing about it. But no, I think just feeling like you found, your peers, and you found that just to be together with other young folk and playing music, there's just nothing like it. And I think that just encouraged everybody involved to keep playing. And I just absolutely loved that, and learning loads of great tunes from people like yourself. And I've forgotten what your question was exactly there, but
I think that answers it all. We did have such a lovely time. I always just have whenever I think about it, I smile.
It's great.
That's really good. And I suppose I
Oh, I
was just
loved it.
thinking that, so you're a classical player, of course, but I always remember you playing the fiddle as well. What
Yeah.
drew you to the instrument, the classic, really, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I was really lucky actually. I got free lessons. I went to the Gaelic speaking school or unit of a bigger school as it was in Edinburgh, and at that time, all instrumental tuition in schools was free, and the instrument or one of the instruments at Tollcross Primary at the time was the clarsach, and so I just started playing it and started lessons with Charlotte Peterson at the time when I was about 8. And we got to take the clarsach home at the weekends, and, because it's quite a big commitment as an instrument, so it was just such a great opportunity. And at the same time, I was doing like violin lessons, and I'd done a bit of piano lessons like when I was really wee. And so I kind of played both fiddle and the clarsach alongside each other for many years. But I suppose, like, I always love to play the fiddle in sessions and stuff because it's just a lot easier to carry around, and also just love playing tunes and stuff on the fiddle. But yeah, I think just the nature of maybe like the clarsach being a bit more unusual kind of led to me playing it more, being asked to play it with people, and yeah, especially when I went to uni and I was like, that was just me there playing the clarsach, so it just ended up really focusing on it, and also started singing with, like, I always sang unaccompanied for years and years, but then started singing with the clarsach as a sort of accompaniment, and which I remember actually it was Isabel Mearis when I went to music, because I went to music school at Broughton for the last couple of years of my school in Edinburgh, and it was Isabel who taught clarsach there that was like, why don't you play and sing at the same time? You do these two things, like, and it was I was like, whoa, this is wild. Which is so funny now to think about, because that's what I do all the time. Like, that is literally what I do. Thanks to Isabel for making me think of that.
And does you mentioned your Gaelic education? Is Gaelic still a big part of your life?
It is. I feel like I don't speak it. I don't sort of converse in it as much as I'd like to. I think just the nature of the way that where my life's kind of gone, I've not been kind of in that world as much. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know, I've just had a little girl last year, so I feel like maybe through her, and it's a good way of kind of getting back into it, and I've been singing Gaelic songs to her and speaking to her. But I've always kind of kept my Gaelic going through song and singing songs, and that's felt like I've always had that connection. But yeah, I feel like I'd like to come back to it more in terms of like speaking and conversationally.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned your wee girl there, and you've been really open about your experience with Pregnancy Associated Osteoporosis. Can you tell us about this, and I suppose how it's affected both your personal life and your career as a musician? Yeah,
sure. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild time for me the last sort of just over a year. Pregnancy osteoporosis is a very rare condition that I didn't realise that I had for quite a long time. Because it's so rare, most people that have it end up being kind of misdiagnosed for quite some time. But yeah, it is a form of kind of osteoporosis, which weakens your bones and it makes it easier to fracture. But it's quite an extreme. It comes on really, really extreme in certain people who are pregnant or just given birth. And yeah, most people that give birth end up losing a bit of bone density, but then it comes back. That happens to everybody. But for some reason, certain people, it just dramatically falls off a cliff, really. And when I just at the point of giving birth to my little girl, I fractured my lower back. But at the time, I didn't realise I was just like in absolute agony, and everyone was like, "Well, that's just normal. That's how you're meant to feel." And yeah, so that went on for months. And it was my little girl was born in December 2023, and it wasn't until I actually was on tour, because I ended up going to Germany in April on tour with Lauren MacColl, and we brought both. She's got a little girl too. We brought our babies and our partners with us, and it was really fun. I mean, I was in a bit of a state. I I think it was like 2 days before we went. I tried to play the Clarsach, and I couldn't even get through one tune. I was in so much agony, but for some reason I was like, "Let's do this. Let's do it," and we did it. I don't know how. Still at that point, I didn't know that I had like 8 fractures in my spine, but yeah, or no, 6 fractures at the time. But in fact, maybe less. I probably broke more bones when I was there. But I'm really glad we went. And then in May, I was on a solo tour, and a friend of mine, an old friend who I hadn't seen for years, came up to me and said, "I think you've got this." She had it a couple of years before that, and she just took one look at me. She actually said to me, "You used to be, how tall were you?" And she was like, "You used to be about 5'10", 5'11", and she was like, "No offense, but you're not that now." And it turns out, yeah, with pregnancy osteoporosis, you know, because your spine sort of effectively collapses, you lose height. So I've lost like about 3 inches of height, and yeah. She just advised me to get an X-ray, which I did, and yeah, it turned out I had 6 fractured vertebrae in my spine, and yeah, the doctor had never heard of it. I'd been going for physio, a maternity specialist physio, for all that time, 5 months, and she'd never heard of it either. She just said it must be muscular, and yeah, so everyone's done a lot of learning through this. At the maternity ward are hopefully a bit more aware of it now, which is good. If something positive can come out of it, but yeah, it was a really hard time. I couldn't, look after my little girl on my own, which was really quite upsetting. And also my partner couldn't work because he had to, be there for our wee girl. So I had to go out and tour and gig, to make ends meet. But I'm actually really grateful for that, because I think playing music and performing has kind of helped me through it. Definitely, although it's been tough. And weirdly, when you're performing, they call it doctor gig. If you're not feeling great, I think the pain doesn't feel as bad because you sort of, the adrenaline and the distraction kind of gets you through. So, and I've been really grateful because people that I work with, the bands that I'm in, and have all just helped me, carried my harp and helped set it up and things like that. And yeah, slowly, it took another good few months for me to actually start medication, but I've been on medication now for a couple of months, and my bones seem to be, fingers crossed, they seem to be much, much stronger, and the fractures have actually healed. They've healed in like I've lost a lot of bone, so there's still a lot of pain, muscular pain, while I kind of get my strength back, but slowly on the mend. And yeah, I'm feeling positive about it.
Oh, that's good news. Have you got any advice for any new mothers who are wondering about this, if they're in pain or they don't know what's going on?
I would say, oh, my little girl, I think, just arrived back from. So you might hear some squawking in the background now. But yeah, I would just say have your height measured before, and and then if you are in a lot of pain, the main thing is just to measure your height and see if you've lost any height. But just to be aware of it. I mean, but also at the same time, it's really important to say that it's super rare. So I don't want to put the frighteners up anyone about it, because it's very, very, very unlikely that it'll happen. But yeah, just good to have that awareness, really. And I'm just hoping to, if it helps there's just one other person to just talk about it, then I'm willing to talk about it and be quite open about it, because I think, like I say, most people that have it have experienced the same, exactly the same story, just that they've had months and months of thinking that they were, that you start to doubt your own sanity, because you just like this feels really painful. Why am I, and then suddenly you get that validation of, oh, that makes a lot more sense now. I basically, have like, it's like the equivalent of being in a massive accident, but without the accident. So, it's sort of validating, strangely, in a way, to know what's going on.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of getting on top of it, and I suppose big thank to Grant as well.
Yes, definitely,
for being a great partner.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely very, very lucky. To have that support. And it's made me really appreciate like getting out and gigging and doing stuff like that. I probably was a bit burnt out before, especially coming up to, like, towards lockdown and just doing so much touring, and feeling a bit burnt out by it all. And I think now having gone through all that, I'm just so grateful to be, to do gigs and play music for a living. It's just what a life. It's great.
Well, I think that's a good for our final question. What is next for you? What's coming up? Any exciting projects or performances that you're can't wait?
There's some projects, and I don't know, when is this coming out?
Next week.
Next week. Okay.
So what's next week for these people watching 10 years in the future? Possibly the 24th of April, 2025.
That's good to know. Okay, yeah. So May is looking really exciting for me. I'm getting to play in Lauren MacColl's big band performance at Tradfest, and then I'm going on tour just a short few days with the Spell Songs, which is another project I've been delighted to be part of, the Lost Word Spell Songs, and we're doing a few shows, including the Usher Hall in Edinburgh, which I haven't played at since I was at school doing the Christmas Carol concert. So I'm excited. I'm very excited to be in that beautiful big space in Edinburgh, the band. I'm really excited for that. Just various, got some solo gigs coming up in June. And I feel like, I've talked about these projects that I've kind of been involved in recently, but I think it feels like because I'm sort of coming out of survival mode a wee bit and starting to have a little bit more headspace. I feel like there's like new projects just sort of fizzing away. Like I always get that to that point. I don't know, it's like a cycle, isn't it, where you're kind of doing the project and then you kind of have to sort of be in this space where like the clouds are still in front of the idea, but they're slowly start to part. So I think I'm in that kind of phase of that cycle, if that makes sense.
Is there any subjects that is really interesting you at the moment? Because you've covered so many interesting subjects. Is there anything that you're going, I must find out more about
that? Yeah. There'll be things things are fizzing away. Well,
I think we all can't wait. So if people want to find out more about Rachel,
rachelnewtonmusic.com. And actually, my website's down at the moment, but I'll have it sorted.
It was up last night, actually.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's good. Oh, well, maybe it's just me that can't get on.
Well, thanks very much, Rachel. As ever, it's been totally fantastic and nice to sit here and laugh.
No, it's been great. Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you the next time.
See you next time.